Hey, what's up, YouTube? It's K-Rod here, back with another boxing video for y'all today. Alright, so let's get back into it. I wanted to make this video to talk about why more women or more female fighters should be going to PBC rather than DAZN and Top Rank. So yeah, let's get right to it. I wanted to make this a little bit short and sweet. So the reason why it's been coming to my mind about PBC having to bring in more women is because I believe PBC is the way to go to promote women better. As of lately, women's boxing has been really shitty, and it's been shitty for like the wrong reasons. Mainly because more women are not speaking up, and two, women are very deceitful, and three, women don't know how to do business properly when they know that they can get the better end of the stick if they try to get more help from people that do care. And I think it's more like I think it's more similar to the WNBA situation where they complain about people not wanting to show up to their games, blah blah blah, and no one doesn't really care about women playing like what, like, I forgot how many minutes it is per quarter, but let me take a look at it. Yeah, like how many minutes are in a quarter, women's basketball, women's NBA basketball. Hold on. Basketball. Because I know it's different. Yeah, 10 minutes. Yeah, so it's 10 minutes in the WNBA, but in the NBA, it's 12 minutes. It's 12 minutes with a 24-second shot clock, and it doesn't make any sense because that's really how women's boxing is in the sport of boxing. It's like it makes no sense. And then on top of that, you have the 2 minute, 3 minute, or you have 2 minute rounds that don't really make any sense to score a fight properly. And the glove sizes are a lot bigger for women because supposedly people don't want to see women get banged up in the ring knowing that they signed up to fight each other. And if you lower the glove size to 8-ounce gloves, then somehow women will hurt each other more and possibly give each other more traumatic injury to possibly kill other fighters in the ring if they're wearing smaller glove sizes. Knowing that women, they do hit less harder compared to men, but still I don't see the issue because it's more like if you fight, you can fight. If you don't fight, then you shouldn't be in the sport of boxing, because that's really the problem with boxing alone. There's too many people that don't deserve to be a fighter, even if they can say that they know how to fight and they have the amateur experience. It still doesn't matter. If you're not built for the pro game mentally and physically, then that's what happens in the pros. That's what happens when people get into the ring and then they get exposed and then they possibly get knocked out. I don't want to see nobody go through that, and I sure want to see a good fight where people enjoy going to a fight. But let me tell you something. I'm not going to sit here and say that this girl that I ran into the other day, who happens to be a model, she tells me she wants to fight, and then I say, okay, yeah, sure, become like a boxer, go to your local gym, blah blah blah. I'm not gonna recommend that to someone. I'm not gonna say as a fan of boxing, yeah, you should get into it. I mean, unless she really wants to, and that's something that she's dedicated to, because boxing is a really difficult, dangerous sport. You have to be ready for that type of stuff. I used to wrestle in high school. I went 27-3. But let me tell you something. If wrestling had a pro game with it, if it had like an actual professional league for men to get into, and it paid a lot of money, look, I would do it. It would be set up like the UFC, and you go out there and then you start competing at the highest level. That's okay. I mean, it's really like I'm just saying theoretically, but it's just like there's a lot of risk to that. Like wrestling definitely has just as much similar dangers to boxing, but still, in the sport of boxing, there's no proper structure in the sport to actually make sure that the best fights, but the best fights, the best every single day, and that's what kills the sport of boxing because no one doesn't want to see a boxing fight between one girl that comes into the ring where she has all this amateur experience, if not some pro experience behind her, with sparring professional fighters and getting good at her craft, versus the other girl. She's probably some Joe Schmo, Joe Schmo's daughter coming from Hope Street, and she just got into boxing and she just started training at home, for at least like 6 months to a year, not that much good sparring or whatsoever, and you're meaning to tell me that's going to be a good fight to sell? No. I mean, I'd let that fighter grow. I put that fighter matched up with other fighters that just got into boxing. Like, if you're going to have prospects face each other, at least have the lower tier prospects fight each other, and then the higher tier prospects fight each other, because it makes all the best sense to have those stylistic matchups of having low tier prospects fight other low tier prospects, and then the higher skill prospects fight the other higher skill prospects. So in regards to the women joining PBC, I think this is a really good marketable idea. Not only because PBC does a good job for the men, at least as far as what I hear. I'm pretty sure there's other problems with what PBC does to some of their fighters, but I mean, for the most part, I would assume Al Heyman could definitely put in more female fights, together. But it just so happens to seem like for the men's fights, they definitely sell because men dominate boxing. But for the women, I don't see why it can't be made, because the women can definitely fight. They could definitely put on a show. And shout out to Amanda Serrano. She'll be fighting this upcoming Sunday. For some weird reason, I don't understand why, but she'll be fighting on the Jake Paul Tyron Woodley, undercard. She'll be the co-main event. I'm really hoping that, that card alone is not stacked. Honestly, I could take a look at that right now, but basically, I think it's better to have more women go to PBC, because at least that way you actually have more of a female base structure to help women grow more, coming into the program, and then when they come out, because at least that way you're going to give more of those girls the better opportunity to come back and start fighting on PBC, and then they're going to start bringing like a bigger date to that table. So I think it just makes all the sense in the world to do that, and it just really helps out. And yeah, I definitely like to see it. Oh sweet, my boy Ivan Baranchik, he's gonna fight Montana Love. Oh, yo, he just moved up to 147. What? Yo, he's gonna face this guy, Montana Love. Yeah, I heard he's a good fighter, by the way. Yeah, he just stopped his last opponent. Nobody that I don't know. Wow, he came to a draw with Kenneth Sims, Cameron Creel. Yeah, he beat Cameron Creel. Yo, dude, yeah, this guy definitely going to give him some work. That's going to be a fun fight to watch. I can't wait to see that fight. And then Joe Cusimano. Daniel Dubois. Yo, I can't wait to see that fight. That fight's going to be fun to watch, too. But, oh, Trevor Bryan was supposed to fight him. Yeah, for the WBA regular. Dude, how does Danny get himself like a title shot? That makes no sense. And yo, that's so funny. Tommy Fury is gonna fight Anthony Taylor. Who is this guy? Who is this, bruv? Who are you fighting, bruv? You're fighting you're fighting a guy that does MMA. This nigga does MMA. His net worth is $8,000. Tommy, what the hell are you doing? You're fighting a bum. You're fighting a guy that's 5'7" with a 66.5 arm reach, knowing that you're like what? You're definitely like 6 feet. Yeah, he's 6 feet. Yeah, his arm reach has to be a 72 inch. I want to say close to 75, but Tommy, you were 22 years old and you're fighting under Jake Paul's undercard, knowing that you want to fight him? What the hell is Tommy's problem, man? Tommy, you could do better, bruv. You can do better. And I mean, I don't even like Fury because it's like, you're obviously associated with a criminal. But either way, when you talk shit to your enemies, but your enemies offer you probably a decent bag for you to fight for, that just comes to show, like, Tommy is not, he's not a man of his word. I mean, shit, bro, it just makes himself look worse. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I guess if him and Jake Paul fight each other, yeah, he'll definitely get the biggest bag of his life. But you 6-0 fighting bums, and you're fighting another bum just to pad up the record book. So yeah, good for you, Tommy. You're definitely helping out your career. But yeah, Amanda Serrano should be the co-main event, facing the beautiful Yamalef Mercado. I like watching her. She's awesome. She definitely she's a good fighter, but sadly she doesn't have good defense. And hopefully Amanda, if she's coming there to knock somebody out, she doesn't do it in a brutal fashion. She's not really good defensively. For those of you that don't know, she has decent footwork, but when she gets clipped, she still tries to keep fighting somebody, which I don't understand why. I mean, she does know how to box, but her ring IQ and her athletic ability is not on the level of Amanda Serrano. So it's still going to be a good fight. Don't get it twisted. I still love, watching both of these girls, but, styles make fights, and Amanda Serrano is probably one of the greatest women on earth. She's Evander Holyfield 2.0. But yeah, like for fights like this, it definitely needs to be promoted more. Like having more women going over to PBC helps out a lot, because I believe that when you have more of these women come onto these big cards that are being promoted, like let's just say if Charlo and Andre fought each other and you could have at least 2 to 3 female fights, I would definitely watch that. I would seriously watch it, and I would definitely have a good time watching it. Like, if you had those fights on a consistent basis, I guarantee you will see more bigger pay for female fighting. Because the problem with women's boxing is that no one doesn't want to fucking talk about it. People just sit there and just expect, like, oh, well, let's just bring it up to a certain promoter, like Lou DiBella or this guy or that guy. Why the hell does it have to be one person? Why can't it just be bring every fighter together and have them be promoted more on one network? Because at least that way, when you kind of advocate for all these networks to, like, bring more women together and give them more opportunities for more money and then for more bigger fights in the future, it makes all the sense in the world to do that. Because guess what? You're not playing promoter politics anymore, and 2, you're having the best fight the best regardless. That's why I want to see boxing become, like, centralized in a league type, fight league, in a sense of having it similar to the NBA. Because at least with the NBA, they have, like, the best teams facing the other best teams. So the best fight, yeah, like, the best basketball games are played every single day. So therefore, it should be structured like boxing. And boxing used to have, like, it used to have its own national fight league. It was called the NBA. It was called the National Boxing Association. And I think that's how it should be, should be made. It should be called the National Boxing Association Fight League. Or I would just call it the NBA too. Yeah, or the NBAA. Or just call it the NBA and then have like a boxing label to it. Like the National Boxing Association, I don't know, academy, or I don't fucking know, like, but either way, if you have it set up like that, that would definitely help out the sport of female boxing a lot better, because at least that way, it's kind of like the UFC where you have to go through all the big names that are going to be competing, all around from the world. And at least that way it actually encourages more people to have like their own type of fight leagues worldwide, to structure their own fights, in their own, like respected countries. But if those fighters want to make a big name for themselves, yeah, they just come over to like America and then they start fighting all the big fights, and then boom, you could have one champion from PBC fight another champion from Top Rank, and then it could be a colluded fight league, network war. You know what I'm saying? Like have something like that. Shit, you got like, you had fighters like Ben Askren coming from Invicta, and when he came over to the UFC, he started doing really good after, he defeated, correct me if I'm wrong, I want to say it was like Robbie Lawler or some other type of fighter. I don't fucking know. But basically, you have the collision of fighters coming from one network to another network, and they do a really good job shining at certain levels of competition, whether they make or break. But either way, that's how the sport of boxing should be. It should be competitive fight leagues. The fighters should get most of what the money. It should not be going to no goddamn manager, no promoter. Fuck that. It should just be at least 5 to, I'd say 10% of their pay taken away. Obviously, one, for the network itself being paid for, but two, going out to the team and whatnot, and blah blah blah. And that should all be discussed through contract negotiations. I don't want to get into that. I'm just saying, if you want to have a better model for the sport of boxing, I think for the sport of female boxing, if you want the best to fight the best all the time, you need to have better matchmaking, and then that's it. Better matchmaking, better promotions, have, better increased salary for pay, so that way, they're consistently active, but they're getting paid more, so it actually incentivizes better management, so that way let the pay can be increased for everyone that gets involved. And then I'd say on top of that, have benefits too. Why the hell does every other sport have benefits, except for the sport of boxing? At least for MMA, like in the UFC, which I know, that's a terrible example, because, the UFC is just one particular fight league that I usually run to, but, they have benefits, for their fighters. So I just think, like, it just makes better sense to have that, because, those fighters put their lives on the line. So it makes no sense just to throw them just throw them like a bone, like they're dogs. Just to say, hey, well, here's this money, and then that's it. Really? No. Like in the NBA, players get compensated for everything. They get compensated for their retirement. They get compensated for their health benefits, medical leave, or whatever. Anything that happens in the league, those players are protected. They have like their own, built-in pension where they have everything set up. But in the sport of boxing, it's not like that. It's like I'm not gonna call it the Wild Wild West. I'm gonna call it, a crooked red-white market, because that's really what it is. There's violence backed up with, the sport, and there's poor, how should I say, marketized freedom, where the state has, the state has inflicted so much, infiltration to a lot of things that a lot of fighters want to get into financially, and it makes it harder for those fighters to make a good, decent living, and it forces them to get out of the sport sooner than later, because they're like, look, I'm not gonna want to get into every single fight and get paid crappy money for it. And I'm pretty sure it's like that, for the men at a much horrible level compared to the women, because at least for the men, they get paid probably decent money depending on the weight class, because it's like men really don't get paid that well if you're, if they're fighting at a lower weight. But if you're fighting at like a higher weight, yeah, of course you're gonna get paid big money. But still, that that's not even true either, because look at Jermell Charlo and Jamal Charlo. They seem to be comfortable being champions, but guess what? All those sanctioning fees are not helping them, because why? Because they're not going for those big fights yet. I mean, Jermell Charlo, he had his biggest fight with Brian Castano, but is Brian Castano a big name enough for him to make, like $100 million plus dollars? No, he needs to fight a guy like David Benavidez or Canelo Alvarez, or fight somebody that's worth a victory to have over. I mean, if he fights Andrade at 160, then that would be awesome, because guess what? Everyone's gonna pay for that fight. That fight alone would be like at least $20 to $30 million, just looking at it from a promoter's angle. But guess what? It's the promoting politics behind it. It's the stupid shit that people want to make excuses for, to say that, well, this fight can't be made because that fighter says this and the other fighter says that. Who the fuck cares? Make the fucking fight. Make the damn fight. That's what the sport of boxing needs. It just needs to have a centralized structure and a market to say, you're going to fight this guy, you're going to fight that guy, you're going to fight this girl, and if you don't want to fight her, you lose your rank and she moves up a rank. It makes perfect sense. But I'm pretty sure the sport is going to correct itself eventually. But if it doesn't, I'm going to keep speaking out on it, because I'm just here to just see the good fights happen, or all the best fights happen. So the best should fight the best consistently, and I'm a fan of the sport, and I'm a student of the game. So I'm not going to sit here and just say that Zarina McCoy, she can't get a title shot, at 10 fights in her career. No, she should get one. If she's ready for one and she beat all the names to get up there and she's gotten better, then why the hell should anyone say that she can't get a title shot? Tevin Farmer, he got screwed over with getting his title shot. He had to go through the mud with the IBF to get his title shot. Yeah, don't you remember that, one fight when he fought Kenichi Ogawa, that weird Japanese motherfucker that cheated in that fight, and then he somehow got a split decision robbery over him, because he got caught with banned substances, and I don't understand why he didn't get prosecuted for that. He should have gotten prosecuted for that, because he could have killed Tevin, inside the ring. But still, Kenichi Ogawa should not be fighting for that IBF belt that is now vacated. Tevin Farmer should be the one fighting for that belt. That's his belt. Knowing that Joseph Diaz, or Jojo Diaz, he couldn't make weight, and then his belt got vacated. So Tevin was obviously entitled to a rematch clause, when he lost his title. But still, the IBF is screwing Tevin over, which I have to make a video on that. And I'm hoping that Tevin Farmer, he can give more people some update with what's going on with the IBF belt. Because if he's going to get the winner of whoever becomes champion, which I find that absolutely disrespectful, but still, if he fights the winner of that belt that's going to be fought for between Shazvakat Rakibov versus Kenichi Ogawa, then I won't be surprised, because at least that way, Tevin, he can come back stronger, healthy, beat the crap out of that winner, and then boom, move on. Because that's how I see Tevin Farmer growing. Because 130 is going to be wide open for him to just take everybody out. Because Gervonta, he's not going to have his belts at 130 and 135. He's going to stay at 140. But back to the conversation for women's boxing. We really need to see more women go to PBC rather than Top Rank and DAZN. No one doesn't care about no Katie Taylor, Michaela Mayer, all these women that make no financial sense to keep wasting time on the TV watching them fight. No casual fan knows Katie Taylor except for me. Except for some of the hardcore boxing fans and the boxing media analysts that actually look at these fighters and actually break them down. Because that's really what they are. They're nothing but they're nothing but a speck of dust that is barely a stepping stone. Katie Taylor is not the face of women's boxing. The faces of female boxing are Clarissa Shields and Amanda Serrano. That's it. They want to say, no, Katie Taylor, she's a face. Michaela, she can be a face. No, they're not. Their skill level is not even promoted well enough to see them on television. The last time I saw Michaela Mayer on TV anywhere was at a bar and I barely even watched that fight because I know that the competition she was matched with, she was gonna beat her anyway. Why the hell am I gonna watch a Michaela Mayer fight? When I know that she's not being tested 50-50. It should be 50-50 every time when she steps inside that ring. She needs to get clipped one day. She needs to get knocked down one day. She needs to go through that adversity one day. She's never been in a real fight where a crowd goes insanely wild if she gets if she gets clipped and knocked down. What do you do if when you get clipped and knocked down by someone that knows how to hit you? What are you gonna do when the crowd screams at you and you don't know how to respond to that pressure because you're under those big bright lights? Oh, all these strangers are watching you, and the millions around that could be watching worldwide. There's none of that in female boxing. But if you change up with the rules enough to make sure that women are fighting 3-minute rounds, but then on top of that, you probably reduce up the glove size. I would experiment that to see where that goes. But if that does become successful, definitely do that. Well, I mean, it should be up to the fighters if they want to do that, because safety first, because it's better to kind of play it safe rather than play it unsafe. But still, if you could have it at 8-ounce gloves instead of 10-ounce gloves, preferably, it would make a lot better sense to have that if the women or if the female fighters themselves want to have it that way. So that way people can see more knockouts if they're wanting to see more knockouts. But still, if some women could still get knockouts with 10-ounce gloves, knowing that it slows a fighter's punches down because it's still 10-ounce gloves because of the weight. But still, if you could reduce it to 8-ounce gloves, you definitely see way more knockouts in the sport of female boxing. Because there are some girls out there that know how to hit. But if they can't hit as hard with a 10-ounce glove compared to a 8-ounce glove like men do, why can't it be for women, right? So that's really like my biggest problem with the sport of female boxing. There's really not enough promotion for it, and it's really destroying the sport alone a lot quicker, because the more this continues, the worse it's going to get for the women heading into their career. So that's pretty much what I have to say. I think it's good that female boxing, in certain aspects of the PBC stable, it's getting a little bit of shine, especially with Amanda Serrano. And I hope she's able to fight more on Showtime, because she's awesome when she fights on Showtime. I mean, she's awesome everywhere. Much love to the queen, Amanda Serrano. But, yeah, that definitely needs to be promoted more, man. I just wanted to come out and say that, because I feel like that where women are, especially with other stables like Top Rank and DAZN, it's like no one's not going to care about that, and eventually they're just going to throw women's boxing to the garbage and then light it on fire, because that's really where it's heading. And I'm not trying to be rude here, I'm just speaking the facts. I don't want to see no Michaela Mayer fighting some unknown woman that I don't care about. And even when she unifies, why do I want to see a free fight on TV for a title unification? I'm not going to see that. I'll probably see it if it's on a big card, and then I'll be like, oh, okay, she's going to fight this girl for a unification belt, and it's going to be on PBC on a Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford, undercard unification belt, because it actually makes a lot of sense, because champions are unifying, right? But that doesn't make any sense for Bob Arum, because Bob Arum is a selfish, greedy piece of crap, and he's not willing to make that fight. So that's what's going to kill the fight, and then nobody's not going to come back and watch him. Because why? Because Bob Arum is he's cock blocking that fight. So either way, it's probably better to have the fighters have the freedom to fight everywhere, anywhere and everywhere on whatever network that they want. But if the money makes sense to fight on PBC, those fighters should have the freedom to go to PBC if they're not going to get paid well enough at Top Rank or DAZN or whatever network that does come out of with the blue. So that's pretty much what I'm trying to say. Women need to start speaking up more. They need to stop being quiet, and they need to start speaking up louder, because the problem is that females are not speaking up louder. They're just trying to say a little bit here, a little bit there, and then nothing happens. Why? Because you girls are kind of working against each other when you guys should fight for more money. You know, shit. You know, I'm sure some fighters out there have family. You know, they have kids. You guys want to get more, get more money out of the game while you can. So it makes more sense to try to collectivize more fighters together to go to one particular network, or just come together and then speak up, because that's really what it is. The more that people stay quiet, the less of their message that doesn't get spread out, and then they end up becoming bottom feeder scum to be fed off to the wolves later. That's basically what it's going to lead itself to. So that's pretty much what I have to say. I have no shade or no hate against that. I'm just simply being critical. Take it however you want it. I really don't give a shit. I'm just trying to help out the sport of boxing however I can. But I feel like this video needs to be made because there's really no progress being made for women's boxing. Before any of you idiots try to tell me, oh, well, there's UFC Fight Pass. You know, some of these women are being on this network. No, fuck out of here. I don't care if Lou DiBella is doing this, and that. I want to see the best fight the best all the time. If you're going to make me as a fan, as a casual fan, to be drawn into paying into a fight for me to watch, I want to watch a good ass fight. I don't want to watch no bum fight. I want to watch a good fucking fight. So I think that makes all the sense in the world to make sure that you cater to the fans, to give them what they ask for, not give them what you think that they want out of you. Because that's the mental retardation that promoters and managers have. They create all this crazy, stupid matchmaking nonsense, and it doesn't make any sense to match this girl against that girl, and then that's what it ends up becoming, a shit show where everyone's gonna say, what the hell type of fight is this? You're gonna make this girl that's like 3-0 face a girl that's fucking 10-0, 12-0? That makes no sense at all. It's the same thing for male boxing, should be applied for women's boxing. Matchmake the best fights at whatever level that the fighter is on with the same fighter at, around that level. That's pretty much it. But either way, that's pretty much what I have to say. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think PBC is the right way to go for more women to make more money in the sport of boxing? I personally think so. Please let me know in the comments. And I'm out, man. Fix the sport of female boxing. I'll see y'all later. Bye.